VP, Emergency Services Physician, Dr. Jacob Sinkoff. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good afternoon.
Yes, and welcome back to the mainland.
Yes, thank you. I just got back from vacation down to the Keys, and it was warmer up here than it was. It was close, but I wasn't the one that brought the heat. It was already hot when we got back. So.
Well, great to have you back. And so you missed, and I think we all experienced a pretty extensive heat wave, 4 solid days, and really today it's no picnic.
I thought today we were going to get a little bit of relief, but it's still hot. And I got back on Saturday. I've worked the last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, and there's been tons of heat-related illness, lots of it.
We've heard that this spell of heat can have a cumulative effect on the body. How so?
Absolutely. Like a lot of the patients I saw, especially Monday, sounds like, they probably got dehydrated over the weekend actually, and it just kind of progresses and you kind of get behind the 8 ball. And part of the problem with these heat exhaustion or heat related illnesses, something the body experiences is nausea and vomiting. So it's really hard to get out of that on your own when you get to that point, as you want to try to get hydrated, but you're so nauseous and you vomit water up, and makes it really difficult. But each day, a handful of patients every day that we're experiencing heat-related illness. Kind of the main factors, of course, alcohol, especially over the weekend. Even though you're drinking a lot, the alcohol kind of actually dehydrates you a little bit because it increases the amount you urinate, so you slowly dehydrate.
And people think, oh, well, I'll have a nice cold beer or a refreshing gin and tonic, and it hits the spot, but
maybe putting a glass of water in between those beverages is something that's beneficial. And lots of sunburns too. So
over the weekend, there was a major league player. I wish I could remember who it was. I can't even remember.
There was. I saw multiple. It was from one game, multiple.
Yeah.
I think an umpire, 2 players. It was a Cincinnati. It was a De La Cruz.
Yes, he threw up
in the outfield. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and for that reason, it sounds like I read the article about that, and what he had done is he felt like he was getting dehydrated. So prior to coming out to the outfield, he chugged a bunch of water, and like I said, one of the side effects is the nausea and vomiting. He vomited up all the water, but it gets so hot, even professional athletes, that are conditioned and everything like that. The heat, and especially in those conditions where there's no shade available. It makes it difficult and so easy. Where if a well-conditioned athlete can get these things, obviously it makes it easy for us to get it too. So
well, even though he had those ill effects of the heat, he ended up hitting a 435-foot home run later in the game.
Yep.
But I can imagine that's got to be standing in the outfield. It's got to be killer.
Yeah, and one of those, the other things is just, using sun protection, whether it's, they have all the SPF, rated shirts now. Even the long sleeve light shirt is the way I've kind of gone too, because, if you use sunscreen, you have to reapply. If you look at, people usually put it on once in the morning, like, I'm good for the day. But even if you're not in water, you're supposed to keep reapplying. So I've started to utilize the long sleeve shirts, has helped quite a bit, because when you get sunburn, that dehydrates you too, because what happens is then your body pushes fluid to the outside, to the skin. As you know, if you've had a really bad sunburn, it blisters, it leaks, and that's all that fluid that your body kind of third spaces or moves out of your circulation, so further dehydrating you, of course.
And you don't notice it. Someone else will tell you, oh my gosh.
Yep. And one of the things I had a patient yesterday is not only outside, but thinking about all these, in Jackson there's lots of factories, kitchens, a lot of places without air conditioning. So even inside, I had a patient yesterday that came in. He's like, yeah, my boss got worried when I looked pale and I wasn't sweating. So generally, sweating is a way the body uses to cool itself off through just the dampness of the skin. Then the evaporation that occurs will help cool your body temperature down. But when you get severe dehydration, your body, or heat exposure, your body will actually stop sweating to kind of hold that fluid in. So that's how his boss had noticed that.
Awesome,
to come
great.
in and
Yeah, and hats off to that boss, because
absolutely.
that's really what has to happen.
Yeah, and speaking of those professional athletes, if you watch soccer in the summer, even baseball, they might start, they'll take a break right in the middle of a half when they're not supposed to have an intermission, a water break. So I think, it's probably a good idea for employers to do that, because you'll get more productivity out of your employees if they get a break and they're well hydrated. Things to think about with kids' sporting events too, maybe taking, just a 5-minute water break, because professional athletes do it well conditioned, and it's so easy. Even having a rule, if you're out in the water or outside, just once an hour, got to drink a cup of water or something like that.
Yeah, the old days, it was the boss or the coach said, "Oh, you tough it out," and we can't. People would die.
Yep.
Yesterday, the Marine Corps, at one of their bases that was affected by the heat, they put the black flag up, which meant cease all outdoor activities, get inside. I mean, when the Marine Corps does it,
and there's definitely like vulnerable populations, elderly, but it really can affect anyone, and people are starting to realize that.
So heat stroke, what is that? Is that just a condition, or is it something that...
It's a condition, so it's a very severe form of almost like a heat exhaustion, where you get kind of stroke, like you get altered mental status, you can pass out, so you'll start acting differently, and that's very severe. People actually get a temperature with it too. So the treatment for that is rapid decooling. So we used to see it sometimes with when faster horses or NASCAR or something like that. Someone will come in, they'll be altered, and their temperature will be like 103. So the treatment for that is rapid decooling. And if that's ever noticed, all of our through the Henry Ford system, all the physical therapists, athletic trainers, all trained in identifying the signs of that and just rapid decooling. Getting a patient in the shade, ice, cool water, fans, anything to aid in evaporation of water off the skin can really help. But definitely something to look out for.
I saw a story from California that 3 hikers jumped into a waterfall. They died. And it was shocking, I think, to a lot of people, because they're experienced hikers. They were just cooling off.
Yep.
But the water was so cold that it literally took their breath away.
Yep. So you have to be careful. Yeah, careful with that. So in the controlled setting, and it's difficult when you're out in the in the wilderness and there's no help, and something like that, especially when it takes your breath away. If you're on land, you're not floating to the bottom of a lake or a body of water. Luckily, I think around here we probably won't have that problem. The lakes are heating up. I was just in the lake water a couple days ago, and it's getting warm.
Yeah, I talked to someone with a backyard pool yesterday, and just they don't do anything. It's 89 degrees just from...
There's not... Yeah, I was going to say, I was walking in the water, and that was the weird thing. I was like, the water's got to be 85, and the lake got to be, especially in the shallow areas, it's so hot already. So it looks like probably within the next, starting in a couple of days, it should hopefully cool down and get to more seasonable, like low 80s, seasonable temperatures.
Well, I thought we were all going to feel a lot cooler today, but it must be the humidity is... It feels like 90 plus, so yeah, it's still hot.
Yep.
And then water, all these things can be avoided, all of the heat-related issues.
Yeah, it's all preventative stuff, so staying hydrated. If you're out in the sun, just trying to get in the shade, sunscreen, long sleeves, hats, things like that will really help. But just knowing that it's really warm outside. If you're going to be doing yard work, taking breaks a lot, and when you're doing yard work, drinking water, not something else.
Sunscreen industry is interesting because they sell the stuff in little bottles, and really you should be using a whole bottle.
Yeah, and you got to reapply too, and so that's why I've kind of moved to just wearing the light long sleeves, and people think it's like I'm gonna get hot in that, but it's so breathable too, and it's nice because if you get it wet a little bit, it's not super bad, and it really cools you off quite a bit. But yeah, with young kids, we have the mineral-based kind of sunscreen too, and they have a million different applicators, but it's hard to remember to reapply and to get your kids to sit still to reapply it.
Right, and as soon as you go in the pool, it's But I guess there's waterproof.
Yeah, and the waterproof, you have to reapply when you're in the water. Obviously, look at the instructions, but you have to reapply much sooner if you kind of get water. Must have wear waterproof for what, an hour, maybe. I can't remember that. An hour, 90 minutes. So when you're in the pool, when you're on vacation, because we're in the pool for hours most of the day.
I'm with you. Hats, long sleeves. Stay in the shade.
For sure.
Well, thanks for keeping us safe. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And happy 4th. Happy and safe 4th.
Yes. Yep. Safe. Yep. Be safe.
Dr. Jacob Sinkoff from IEP and Henry Ford Health.